Welcome to the Roniel and DaRon podcast show. I'm Roniel.
I'm DaRon.
The topic for today that I wanted to talk about is something that had to do with the NSA. So I'll let DaRon talk about that.
So, a little bit ago, several individuals were put on trial, and by a little bit ago, I mean it's been a few weeks. Are being put on trial because they work as contractors for a United Arab Emirates company. Okay, now these guys, former NSA, CIA contractors, that kind of thing. And what they were doing was providing the UAE with tactics, knowledge about how we do cyber attacks, things of that nature, some of the toolkits. They were providing them also with the ability to attack US and US allies, interests, partners, systems. All right. So something that a lot of people really don't realize, and this is something that I've mentioned to you once or twice before, is with a lot of the government work that I do, I cannot take that and use it in the private world. I also can't just take it even within the government realm and use it or talk about it because fair portions of that are actually classified or they fall under EAR, which is export arms control laws, and then ITAR, which is again exporting arms, really. So they fall under weapons laws, and it's actually something that I don't think a lot of people realize. I for example have done work actually for the UAE, and I do know for a fact that they try to get as much data from you as they possibly can. I also know you can't give them what they ask for. You can't teach them how to do 90% of the stuff that you do or learn through the government. You can't provide them with results, etc., that they can then use against the United States. And it doesn't matter if we have friendly relations with the UAE. It's just not allowed. And the same thing is true if you were working with any other foreign government. So I've done work with as far as foreign governments are concerned, officially, UAE, Ukraine, Taiwan, Japan, Germany, Turkey, officially the UK, and that's the majority of the list anyway. I've also done work with IAEA, the UN, etc., etc. The list can go on. But I can't sit there and talk with any of our allies, actual allies. And the UAE is not an actual ally. As far as the Middle East is concerned, we have one actual, factual, true ally, and that's Turkey. And that's through NATO. Because, of course, Turkey's part of NATO. Israel is not on that list. UAE is not on that list. Jordan's not on that list. Yes, we have agreements. We train some of their folks. They train some of our folks. We do exercises together. But it's not the same as a military alliance, a full defensive, offensive military alliance like NATO. The only one in the Middle East is Turkey. And that is important because, of course, the United States has done a pretty bad job of keeping the relationship with Turkey going strong. And part of that is because, of course, Turkey elected Erdogan. But they elected Erdogan as a response to the United States failing to push the EU to allow Turkey into the EU, as we had agreed upon, if they would hold our nuclear weapons for us. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, I don't know if you knew this, you know why the Russians were trying to put nuclear weapons in Cuba?
Mm-mm.
Because we had a whole bunch in Turkey.
Oh, wow.
So we always make it, if you know anything about U.S. history, the United States always makes it seem like we were the victims and all that. We were actually the aggressors, and the USSR was actually trying to equalize things a little bit. So
Yeah,
kind of funny.
we always aggressive.
Yeah, that does seem to be the way, doesn't it?
Yeah, man, wow.
So anyway, back to it.
But
So we've talked
just
about it. Please.
just to just so I summarize it. So are you saying that the people that's on trial right now were actually using techniques or things that they learned in the military
Hmm.
in the civilian world, or you know, with in another country?
They were using it in the civilian world for a foreign entity, so for the UAE, and that is, yeah, that's a
Are,
huge no-no. They knew
are they?
better.
Come on, what? Like, did they not know they were going to get a spanking? Like, come on now.
All that stuff is classified. That's the thing I don't understand. And the stuff that isn't classified is considered, it used to be FOUO, which is for official use only, but now it's sensitive but unclassified. Oh, I'm sorry. It was sensitive but unclassified. Now it's actually controlled unclassified information. It went doot doot doot. So the FOUO stuff all moved to SBU, and then it made a short trip from there to controlled unclassified information. So in either case, the point is you can't go spilling the beans. So when I work DoD stuff, there was a tool called Dis a Gold Disk, which you can find online. You can look; it still exists. It, however, was behind lock and key because it was considered FOUO at the time, anyway. And you had to have a CAC, which is just a common access card, a military ID, in order to actually download the thing and gain access to it and use it and all this other stuff. I could not then take that tool and go use it on an exercise. For example, I had such an exercise during that same time period for the UAE. That would be illegal. That would land me in hot water. And for the UAE stuff, instead, we had to just tightly control what tactics we used, what attacks we used, and what we tried to do. And then we also had to control the report itself and make sure the report didn't show anything advanced or anything of any real skill or technique.
So literally, you would give them a dumb report of something totally simple,
Yeah.
but not your advanced stuff that you actually
Mhm.
did.
Yeah, that's
So they
exactly
couldn't
right.
recreate it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the same way? Would that be similar? Like, not since nothing in the civilian world is that advanced, but I'm saying that it'd be the same way if you wrote a report, like for instance, for or a company, and you didn't want to give them all your goodies, and you kind of showed them a little bit of something, but not the whole thing.
Yeah.
Um,
In this hypothetical scenario that certainly didn't occur with the company you and I belong to, that's exactly right.
yeah, it's just weird because nowadays you would think people that's in the security field, especially, I'm just going to say that, and we get back to topic, is that mm, it seems that they don't know certain techniques,
Mhm.
and then they want you to give them.
Yeah.
Give me your sauce, and I'll take your recipe, and then I'll redo it for myself.
Yeah.
Uh, and I don't really like that. I don't think that's how it should be. Like, if you want to learn something, you need to go do exactly what anybody else would do. If I give you a report, I tell you this is how I did it, you actually review it. And then if it's not understanding, there's references for you to go look at it and figure it out.
Right.
But to go and be like, hey, here you go, do this. And then you got to now, not only that, you have to explain a ton more. And then you give
Right.
out everything. And then now they use it against you.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's interesting because so I had to help provide training material for a lot of governments too, and allies and our partners, as well as our
Mm,
interests. And it falls into the same exact boat where that training would have to be dumbed down, not because they couldn't learn it, but because we couldn't talk about this thing or that thing, or I couldn't show them this or that. So there's no point in talking about it. It's highly restricted, and I don't think a lot of people recognize that, which is funny since security, right? So what does our industry constantly say? We constantly run around telling people, oh, you have to be careful with the tools that you have because someone could use them for evil, right? You hear that all the
Right.
time. White hats say that mostly as a cover because they can't actually do anything.
What's your thing against white hats?
I hate
I
white
just
hats.
really I gotta say it so people can understand it here. DaRon has a problem with all you white hats out there, and I really want to know his problem. Do you think that DaRon is racist? I mean, you have white hat, black hats, and gray hats. I mean, do you think DaRon is racist against white hats?
Okay.
Let me know your opinion down in the comment section.
You know, it's funny you say that. And it is so hilarious. So, years ago, when my children were much younger, I was having them read the Annals of History from China. It was written by a, a Chinese gentleman who was so dedicated to writing the history of China that he was willing to become a eunuch. Because that's what happened. He was given the choice: either we cut off the goods and you keep going, or you will stop writing this. And he said, just remove them. I have to do this.
I don't think I can remove those things. They would have to forget the history.
Yeah, the history is
Yeah.
done. Bye. It's not changing. But so we're sitting there reading it, and in it he talks about blue heads and black heads, yellow heads, and things of that nature. So he's sitting there describing these different groups. Now, these are different political entities. And what he was really talking about was the color of like the turban, and sometimes they'd have a pin or this or that these movements would use as these solidarity movements to rebel against the government in one way, shape, or form. And you'll hear them now more commonly called the yellow turbans or blue turbans and things of that nature, although turban is bad because it only made sense for some of them. But as a direct result, at number one, every time I talk like white hats, etc., I always laugh because I think about that. But number two, it took my children a very long time to figure out what people meant when they said black people and white people. They figured it was talking about the color of shirt.
Oh man, that is interesting. No, I mean, hey, you could look at it that way.
You could.
When you tell people about black hats versus the white hat and gray hat, they don't understand any of the term, and then they think it's a race thing, but it's really not. What we're really talking about is basically how do I want to say this in the nicest way possible? Because you can also say the skills, but you can also say what their motive is.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about skills here, we're not even talking about motive. Talking about skills, DaRon does not like white hat at all. Do you even consider them hackers?
No. They're all script kiddies, all of them.
Can you tell me why did you consider them that? I'm sorry. This is a very interesting conversation. We'll lead back into our NSA thing, but can you tell me why? And then to lead to the NSA thing, if white hat hackers are all script kiddies, then what are some of the people in the NSA that use a lot of these tools that were not created by them and created before them? Are they considered the same, or would they be considered one of the elite hackers as well? And some of those guys that you consider in the group, I already know what you're going to say. Probably those guys are in that group. They're probably was considered in that white hat area. But I would like to hear it from DaRon's voice.
Okay, so most of the white hats, the biggest problem white hats have is they never understand what it is they're doing. They don't. I'm going to say that carte blanche. The reason why they don't understand is because they have this mentality that you're not allowed to play. You can't play. It's wrong. So they can't, for example, figure out how to run Apple. This is an actual thing, but they never actually pay attention to licensing. I'll get to that in a second. The hypocrisy, I will get to that in a second. How to get Apple's Macintosh operating system to run on non-Apple hardware. That's a violation of the terms and conditions. You're not actually legally allowed to do that. You can't run it in VMs and all this other crazy stuff. But you see all of these people who are white hats, while they're busy scolding all the gray and black hat community. Oh, you guys are so evil. You play on other people's stuff. You're bad people. You break laws. They're off breaking laws by installing Apple operating systems, the Macintosh operating system, on non-Apple products, which is grossly against the terms and conditions and thus against the law. But since they refuse to actually play, they do not understand most of what they're doing. They think they understand, but they have no clue. And that is exactly why you get all these white hats who, for example, look at deserialization that we have demonstrated and they think it's magic. So anyone, if you've watched our deserialization demonstrations, you'll know there was nothing magic about it. It was easy.
Simple. Very
It's simple. That's right.
All of it's simple, and that's why I have a problem when people take things that were already named or done techniques and then rename them into something new. Like
That's a white hat favorite.
Like this. No, this is not that.
Yeah.
And some people don't understand that. A lot of the problems that we see, and I'm gonna go off of the limb and say 99% of them are validation issues.
Yeah.
But you have your 1%, but it's really, really simple. It's not complex.
Right.
But I really wanted to understand that, because then if that's the case, then as we talked before, do you consider that 99% of the industry is considered white hats?
Yeah, most of our industry is filled with white hats. They have no clue what they're doing. They're fools with tools for the vast majority of them. Or they think things like social engineering is hacking. Social engineering isn't hacking. Social engineering is social engineering. And you know what? Social engineering has been around forever. That's the whole point of it's called lying. That's what social engineering usually is. It's typically lying. Not always, but usually.
Let me tell you the greatest social engineer in history. You want to know who the greatest social engineer is? R. Kelly.
Oh.
And you see where he's at.
Yeah.
You see where he's at.
Yeah.
Like the man had the audacity to sing, do you want to come to America with him? Are you serious? And people were really coming to America.
Mm-hmm.
What is wrong? That's why I say that it's not, what I mean by this is that it's not hard to socially engineer somebody into doing whatever you want.
That's exactly right.
Easy. Especially if you have, if you had a certain status, money, different things, that is not hard. Everybody does it every day. And again, this is just saying I don't believe anything that R. Kelly did was right. I'm just saying that if you really want to look at somebody and how easy it was, this guy, ridiculous. It's not even Kevin Mitnick, it's this guy.
Yeah. God, Kevin Mitnick. Don't get me started.
Oh, do not get DaRon started on Kevin Mitnick. Let's just keep going. I just wanted to ask this question because I know we had talked about this before, and I don't think anybody understood that. But DaRon believes that 1% of people, 1%, or maybe it might even be the 1%. It may be 0.5.
Yeah.
But out of the 99% of all of the white hats, and maybe 1% of them may be in that realm of elites. By the way, he doesn't consider me in that elite. He considers me as a fucking noob. So I am just going to be in that pool with the white hats. Not literally, but yeah. But anyway, I just wanted to call it that term. So the people that are, as you consider, that's on trial right now, would you consider them in that term of white hats, or they would have considered, okay.
Yeah, they're white hats.
Yeah, I figured, but see, that's why DaRon is talking about this, because he hates white hats.
Oh, I hate them. Yeah, I hate them with a passion. I really do. I've never met a white hat I liked. So, white hats are your typical goody two-shoes. They think they're better than everyone while they're running around actively violating laws and screaming, oh, black hats are so evil. Black hats, I mean, by the definition of it but black hats are so evil. Gray hats are so evil. They're so awful. They all should be thrown in jail. There's nothing wrong with curiosity. A gray hat is curious. Gray hats are curious. White hats are goody two-shoes who think they're better than everyone else and largely egotistical. Your black hats, I mean, a true black hat is just in it for money, influence, etc., etc. So but they're not curious. Black hats aren't curious. If you're curious, it's a gray hat. Once you move out of that curiosity realm and you're more into destruction, etc., etc., that's the black hat realm. And a lot of black hats are script kiddies too.
Yeah, I mean, I was just about to say that. there's a lot of black hats that don't, especially if you're only doing it for the money. You don't care about the curiosity. You care about getting in as soon as possible, getting what you get, or making whatever you want to make. And a lot of times they don't really make their own shit. They just,
that's exactly right.
either recopy something or, they'll just basically reinvent the wheel. So, I mean, pretty much that could be the same thing. But, curiosity killed the cat. So,
It's true.
Not you, Momo.
I'm not dead yet. Yeah,
Yeah.
Momo's good.
But yes, definitely it does. But anyway, I just wanted to let you guys know that Ron is not only a mutt, he also hates white hats. That's two things that you can know about Ron if you haven't known already.
I'm evil.
Yeah. Back to the NSA people that were also white hat, that were dumb enough to think that they were be able to get away with some shit like this. So that's retarded.
I said, I don't understand it.
It doesn't make any sense at all. Like, why would you do this knowing that you're breaking the law? Maybe they didn't really care, but wouldn't that put them not only as they would put them in that realm of being a black hat now because they're using their tools against, I mean, not a perspective, but the government would consider them being as like a rogue, a whistleblower,
they are
or something
rogue
like
entities.
that. So I consider that maybe they would be going in that particular way, because why would you be using that tool? What made them think that was okay? Did they not think about this before they did that?
If I were the government, I'd be going after them for violating export laws, but I would also go after them for espionage.
Yeah. So then now that means that person, that the people that are working with, they have access to that tool or actually know what tool they're using?
Oh, well, and that's a big part of the problem is these fools were giving up tools.
Oh my God. No, that's even worse. Yes, espionage, all that. They need to, come on.
Well, and I had an interesting case, for example, recently where we had someone, and this actually comes up all the time, where someone needs something, a client needs something, or a government entity needs something, and they ask, and I have to flat out tell them no. I say, no, I can't. I can do this, but I can't do it for you. Someone had a phone. It was the latest version of iPhone. Well, can you break into this? Yes. All right. Well, I'd like you to do this. I'm not allowed to do that. Well, why not? Because there's nothing publicly available that will allow me to do this. Can I? Yes. May I? No. Two separate questions, two separate answers. I can do a lot of things. I'm not allowed to do many other things as well. And please.
I'm not even a government contractor, and I know I can do some things that I'm not allowed to do that I tell people I will not do. But even then, I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Well, it's beyond even using government tools and knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So it's actually illegal to circumvent encryption.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's a big thing. People don't understand that. So yeah, all I have to say is, again, if you haven't read the article, go read the article. It should be down by the comment section or in our description area to read the article about what happened. But don't be the fool with the tool. Don't give away your tools. And even if you're not a government contractor, don't be going out making tools and selling them to other people in the black market to think you can make money. Go use your skills for good reasons. Like we're going to talk about in the next episode about the shortage. If you have the talent, use your skills for good. You can get paid a lot of good money to use those same skills that you're going to use there for good. Because if it's fast, it won't last.
Yeah.
So, it's better to go the other route, even though it may be slow and steady, but it's consistent and it's very rewarding than going to jail and being in jail for life.
That's exactly right. And don't follow the money on that. And that's what happened with these fools is the UAE offered them huge money.
Yeah. There's greed. They should be on that episode of Greed.
Yeah.
It's greed. Greed can land you in horrible places. So do not do that. Don't be greedy. But do feed the needy. So but don't be greedy. And then on the next episode, we'll be talking a little bit about skills that you guys may have obtained for good. Whether you start just starting off, even if you start off as a script kiddie, white hat hacker, as Dan so-called says, so DaRon, you can eventually, if you continue to practice and train, just like somebody doing weights, you can get better at it and maybe become one of those 1% elites and not those 99 percentiles.
Good luck.
Try harder.
Try harder.
That is always the thing. But this concludes our episode. I'm Roniel.
I am DaRon.
And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel and also hit that bell down at the bottom somewhere. I don't know where that bell would be at, but hit that bell down at the bottom and you can always stay alert to all our new episodes. We also pretty soon will be in all different platforms for podcasting. So if you can't actually see the videos, you can listen to our podcast and stream them as well. So to the next time.
Have fun.
Later.